Tonight, before you go to sleep, think about this. Everything you see around you, the stars above, the oceans below, the mountains, the trees, every animal, and every person had a beginning. The Bible tells us that beginning. The book of Genesis opens with these powerful words. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Before there was light, God existed. Before there was time, God existed. Before there was anything in creation, God existed. Then God spoke, and everything changed. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. He separated the light from the darkness. He created the sky above and the seas below. He formed the dry land and filled it with plants and trees. He placed the sun, moon, and stars in the heavens. He filled the waters with fish and the sky with birds. He created animals to roam the earth. Then God created mankind in his own image. Adam was formed from the dust of the ground, and God breathed into him the breath of life. Later, God created Eve and placed them together in a beautiful garden called Eden. Everything God created was good. There was no sickness, there was no pain, there was no death. Adam and Eve walked with God in perfect fellowship. But God gave them one command. They were not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. When the serpent tempted Eve, she chose to disobey God. Adam followed her in that disobedience. Sin entered the world. Shame entered the world. Death entered the world. The perfect relationship between God and humanity was broken. Yet even in that moment, God revealed his plan to bring salvation. As the years passed, people multiplied across the earth. But humanity grew increasingly wicked. Violence and corruption filled the world. Yet there was one man who found grace in the eyes of the Lord. His name was Noah. God instructed Noah to build an ark. For many years, Noah obeyed God, even when others did not understand. When the time came, Noah, his family, and representatives of the animals entered the ark. Rain fell upon the earth. The floodwaters covered the land. Everything outside the ark perished. But God preserved Noah and his family. When the waters receded, God established a covenant with Noah and placed a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his promise. The generations continued. People once again turned away from God and attempted to build a great tower at Babel. They wanted to make a name for themselves instead of honoring God. The Lord confused their languages and scattered them across the earth. Then God called a man named Abraham. God promised Abraham that his descendants would become a great nation and that through his family, all nations of the earth would be blessed. Abraham believed God. That promise passed to his son Isaac, then to Isaac's son Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Jacob had 12 sons who became the fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel. One of those sons was Joseph. Though Joseph was betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, God was with him. God raised Joseph from prison to a position of great authority in Egypt. Through Joseph, God preserved his family during a severe famine. What others intended for evil, God used for good. And so Genesis ends with God's people living in Egypt, waiting for the next chapter of his plan. The book of Genesis is the story of beginnings. It tells us where we came from. It explains why sin entered the world. It reveals God's faithfulness to his promises. And it points forward to the coming Savior who would one day restore what was lost in the Garden of Eden. Genesis is not simply the beginning of the Bible, it is the beginning of God's redemption story. And that story continues today.